welcome to eMigos podcast. I'm Boomstick.
I'm Quantum.
And I'm Gandyman.
Today we're going to wrap up with our last podcast. We discussed the game The Last of Us, Naughty Dog's newest game that has come out, and we really talked pretty extensively about it, but we weren't quite ready to talk about the ending. When I say me, because I hadn't beaten it yet, but now that after I have,
and everyone died,
and everyone died.
Yeah.
Spoiler, no. Yeah.
Now,
we'll talk about it in a second.
Hopefully you comment on how many times I said everybody died, but I haven't checked yet, just by the way.
Okay. Well, the ending, what do you think?
Well, what do you think?
What do you think?
And then we'll tell you what we thought.
Well, nobody died. Well, not entirely true, but
not important people.
Yeah, to me that whole game was set up making you think, which I guess that was probably the part of the power of the ending was the whole time I'm thinking, okay, either Joel's going to die or Ellie's going to die. One of them's going to die.
Or both of them.
And so if they wanted to, they really could do a franchise with this game. But I thought it was completely against what this game was about to do that. I don't know if there should be any more Last of Us games, especially with those two as characters.
There
maybe
could be
with
a
some others.
possibility for another game.
Well, I think you could do some things with
his brother.
Well, no, not even just that. Maybe just completely unrelated characters. Kind of what Telltale is doing with the Walking Dead series. What appears to be what they're doing with the Walking Dead series of games, where you have unrelated characters kind of weaving in and out of each other's lives. That might be cool, but as far as a franchise, I don't know if The Last of Us needs it. I mean, the power of the whole story was, basically Joel getting his life back.
Getting out of his little funk of 20 years.
Yeah.
I think he, coming back to humanity is what it was.
Yeah, he got his humanity back in the game. But his daughter, we talked about it pretty extensively. Sarah, of course, she passed away at the first of the game. Ellie, kind of the growing of their relationship. And by the end of the movie, I was talking about this with you earlier, Gandyman. Ellie became his daughter. I don't think it's not a blood thing at all. Like she was his daughter by the end of the game.
Because they spent almost a year together traveling, to their final destination. Yeah,
and just to kind of talk about what we're talking about, at the end of the game, of course, the entire game they're moving cross country to try to get to what they call the Fireflies, this group who are trying to hang on, trying to save humanity, kind of a ragtag group of what's left of society, and they've followed all the way across the country trying to find a way to use Ellie in whatever way that they can. Joel and Ellie don't even know how they would do it at that point, but to be able to use her seeming immunity to work out a solution, to work out a cure for the infection. And when they get to Salt Lake City, I believe it finally ended up in Salt Lake City, right? Yeah.
I kept saying Colorado, but he disagreed with me.
Yeah, it was Salt Lake City because they were in Colorado with the college, I remember, but then they went to Utah. But
it's just I don't remember what I was going to say now. My mind just went blank. All right, carry on with whoever was going to say something. I totally went blank there.
I mean, at the end you have, expanding on what you're saying about Ellie now becoming Joel's daughter. I mean, it was to the point where it's like, I want to keep you safe so much that I don't care if, I have to lie to you so that you feel better, that you can live a normal life like you wanted, and not have to worry that, they were going to kill you and just to make a cure and that kind of stuff.
Well, and if you take the entire motivation of all the people in that game and what would happen basically worldwide if that did happen, is that it becomes selfishness to the max, survival of the fittest. And if you look at it, what life would there have been left for Joel to live? Now, okay, to get back to the story though, they take her to the Fireflies. She's on the operating table, and Joel refuses for her because of the way the cordyceps work. They attach themselves to the host. They embed themselves in the brain and in the nervous system, and so basically, to extract anything to help and find a cure, you would not survive. There's just no way of surviving because it embeds itself in the brain. So she's gonna die. Ellie is gonna die. If she can be the cure, it's only at the cost of her own life. And what was her name? The other woman, the Firefly woman? Marlene, she raised her from a little girl. I mean, it was a good touch. It wasn't like she was some stranger, but but she was willing to make the sacrifice of her for the possibility of bringing the world back.
Throughout the whole game, though, up to that point, it never explains. They're probably going to take some of your blood, and
you never know.
That's what I was thinking. They're probably going to take some of her blood and try to make use the antibodies or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's just too much. The whole game you're going through, a little 14-year-old girl, and you see all the stuff she has to encounter, all this infected and just
death.
Out for yourself people. Yeah, all the just more generalized selfishness and death. But at the end, it's like a sacrifice. You can sacrifice yourself for a cure. That's just too much pressure for a 14-year-old. And I think that's what Joel saw.
Well, but okay, so she's on the table. Marlene is going to make the call.
She had already made it.
She'd already made it. Ellie even knew what was going on.
No,
because she didn't get any wake time. Like she was
sedated,
unconscious from almost drowning, and they just kept her sedated for that.
Yeah, they brought her back pretty much probably in like a medically induced coma just to take her out. But so she'd already made the call. Marlene was ready to make the call. Joel couldn't do it. You play that last good portion of the game, fighting your way to get to her. Bust up into the operating room. I don't know what y'all did. Did you shoot the doctor? Was he going to attack you? I shot the doctor.
There was a guy in the way.
You better believe I did.
You shot the doctor?
I shot all of them.
Because, he was in the way. The other ones weren't in the way.
No, the other ones didn't miss. I didn't go in there flat out.
I shot all of them.
Oh, my God.
I just laid him out. I was like, you're about to kill her. I'm going to take you out.
The other ones are backing up. He's like,
here,
you can take her. I can, there's nothing I can do, so might as well go ahead and take her. But I saw playthroughs where they did the same thing. They're just like, well, I guess they're probably all evil and...
but did you kill the doctor then? So we both killed.
Well, he was in the way. So
I don't know. That's what I was going to say. If there was, maybe he wouldn't attack you. He was making threats like, I'm not going to let you take her. I'm not going to let you take her. And so I didn't know if I was fixing to have a fight or not. But I pulled the trigger before I ever figured it out with him. The rest of them I didn't. But you take her, you get out of the hospital, you go along your way. You throw her in the car. You're forced to kill. Yeah, forced to kill Marlene. So she doesn't know anything that's going on. And you're forced to kill Marlene at the end.
Well, what about that decision?
Huh?
Would you have killed Marlene in that? If it was you in that same situation.
Okay, this is just like Man of Steel. Okay, they're going to track you down. It's like Superman killing Zod. That's what he was doing, was trying to get rid of an unavoidable, cycle of conflict. And so it was an easy solution. I still don't know in either case if it was the right solution. But
I think
of course,
they
if you're looking from Joel's perspective, Joel would have done far worse than that for a long time before we ever even met him as a character in the game. Well, not before, but in the lapse between time periods. But they load up in the Jeep. They go on down the road. They go to a little town called Jackson or Jacksonville, and it looks like they're fixing to start another life. And what is it exactly he said to her? It was basically he told her that they
found another girl.
They found other people.
There was dozens of them, of other people who were just immune.
Just as immune,
and they couldn't synthesize a cure.
So he wasn't going to do it. Yeah.
So
she thinks, you can tell she has her doubts.
She's like, well, should I trust him? But she's like, okay, Joel, just.
I guess that moment shows, okay, they've finally grown together as that father-daughter type of relationship that she trusts him. But I guess going back to that original point I was making about the ending, honestly, you've got a society that is in complete ruins. You've got, a fractured populace. You've got people trying to establish. You've got people trying to loot. You've got people trying to just survive. You've got all these different motivations out there. And it's all selfish, and regardless of how you look at it, if they're trying to get power or whatever. But if you look at it, Joel's reaction to it was probably the typification of all that selfishness. Because think about it. If she would have died, if they would have killed her, then maybe they would have found a cure, and maybe there would have been hope for it. But the only hope for him as an individual was to keep her alive. So, it was like the ultimate selfishness. Well, I'm going to lie to her, even if it's right or even if it's wrong, I'm going to lie to her. And
well, even then, there still is no guarantee, though. It's like we're going to kill her and then take a chance that we might be able to synthesize a cure from her.
But there is a chance. There is a chance of that. With it just running out of the facility and, like the way they did, and leaving the Firefly seemingly in shambles, what is there left?
Well, he killed their leader. So they were going to be in shambles.
Well, they'll get, the head will... like you cut off one head of the Hydra, there'll be 2 more to replace it. They would get somebody to lead. I don't know if they would pursue him or not. We'll see if they make this into a franchise. I'm sure that'll definitely be part of it. But like I said, I don't know if they really need to. But I really think that was kind of the beauty of the ending, is that maybe it's not necessarily an ending that I would agree with. I think that all of our reactions at first was like, what? It's like, it was kind of
I was a little mad and then kind of, happy at the same time,
Well, they're not ever going to, things in that world are never going to get back to the way that they are, or the way they are now. It's not going to get back to it.
Well, what decision would you have made?
Come on now.
I mean, would you have let them kill her to possibly save humanity, or would you have done what Joel did?
If it was in my power, I probably would have went down in the fight to try to save her, but not to. Again, that would be. But that is. It really goes back into the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and it depends on what.
So we're going with Spock.
We're going with the Spock here. No, I mean, I'm not saying that I would have killed her or I would have allowed her to die, but it really gets into that argument, which is the better path to take.
Well, I'm asking what would you have done? Not what
I'm just saying. I probably would have tried to do exactly what Joel did to try to save her, because otherwise there would be nothing left. There would be no joy in it. Think about it. If you've gotten that close and that she reminds you so much of everything that you've lost, and you've got a little bit of spark back of your life that you did have, if you allow her to die, even if it's going to possibly save everybody else, you've lost your soul, pretty much. I mean, you've lost your reason for living.
Well, he finally,
how cold and hot, basically, 2 people would have died. If he would have allowed her to go on the operating table, he would have died.
He was finally getting his
inside
soul back, sort of.
That's what I mean.
With her. And then to lose it all over again, and basically get his heart ripped out again.
Well, by saving her, you give her a chance to live, and if something actually does happen to her, then, you still have her to, then take her to the Fireflies, or then try to see about getting... it's a little bit of a crude way, I guess, to think about it.
Weren't they talking about that, like, the infection was, like, slowly going to take over her body? I think that's what...
I've played through it, and I watched through it, and I don't remember that ever coming up.
I believe there was something about the infection was slowly, it was growing.
No, it said the virus, or the virus.
It was just so embedded into her. It wasn't that it was growing. It was that it was such an integral part of her. And it said the mutated. Mm-hmm. They used the word mutate. It was the virus mutated. That's why she was immune. So they were possibly able to take that mutated. That. Like basically like a strand to kill the other strand, like to wipe it out.
So it wasn't so much, I guess what they were saying was it wasn't so much that her physiology and everything caused her to be immune. It was
actually the cordyceps.
The cordyceps evolved, mutated to where it didn't hurt her. It still embedded itself in the brain and all that stuff, but it didn't take over.
Which, honestly, think about it. If somebody is infected, then they've already turned. And so you're not going to be able to give them a pill. I mean, what are you going to do? Walk up to a clicker and say, "Here, take 2 of these and go in the morning."
Have one of these.
It's not. So they're gone. And so basically, the immunity either would have to be a natural immunity, but within yourself, or like I say, the fungus, the actual organism would have to change in a way that it was no longer effective against us. And I don't think there was any way that the laboratory could.
They said vaccine though. They called it vaccine was what they could possibly get from it.
So I think how are you going to apply that? I mean,
no vaccine, so it'd be a preventative measure.
I think it'd have to be like an aerosol form, like a widespread.
Because just as the spores can be,
they could drop it let it go from an airplane or something and cover a whole population.
Yeah, but if you notice though, if you're looking at most of the infected, where were they at? They weren't a whole lot of them out in the open. It was usually indoors and it was usually underground. Yeah, but I guess I don't know. We're going to see.
One's better than none.
One's better than none. Yeah. But so what would? Okay, well, put me on the spot. I would have probably done what Joel did. What would y'all do?
Yeah, what would you have done, Quantum?
Well, I can't see how to do it any different. It's like this, this little girl, and she's seen so much, and we've been through so much. I mean, why wouldn't you go and try to save her? I mean, I just don't think there was enough enough justification for killing her, besides just a possibility of finding a vaccination.
Yeah, and who's to say? Okay, he just kind of invented the reason, but who's to say it wasn't the reason? Like, think about it. Who knows how many people they might have had? I kind of get the impression that she really was the one that they, But
well, even
just to
then,
say there wasn't others.
well, even then, even if you
Even if
could,
there was one more person.
well, I mean, even if you could get a vaccination from it, that still doesn't keep you from dying from them. They can still,
Eat
rip
you
you apart,
alive.
eat you alive and stuff. I mean, it's not just turning; it's actually getting
and
killed just like anybody else.
and finding a way too that rebuild society to a place where you would actually want to live. I mean, it doesn't matter if they would have took her out or if they would have made a vaccine or if they wouldn't have made a vaccine. The world of The Last of Us is not one that most people would want to live in, period. I mean, that I don't know. What would you have done, Gandyman?
If I had a choice.
Yeah, you'd have put her on the table, wouldn't you?
No. No.
After seeing the
Put her under the
display,
knife.
At least we all
She's
agree
a
on
goner.
that we all would have saved her. And
after you
See,
gun
but
down the entire
I guess that's
surgical
what's
staff.
interesting to me is that
yeah,
we all had
I'd
a
blast
reaction.
away all of them.
Okay, we all agree we would probably took Joel's course of action. And another thing too is that it's not really a lot of games put a lot of choice into it. This is a very linear experience. You get what the developer wants you to get. But okay, they've made the decision as developers to make the ending of the game where he does what he does. We all agree that we probably would have took that course
What
of
if they
action.
would have
Why
left it
that
open
feeling?
ending?
Well, but why do we have that feeling at the end of it? It's kind of like,
Did he make the right call?
yeah. I mean, is this what we? I mean, was this a good ending to a game?
No,
No, why?
I just hate the ending. I mean, they put you through so much stuff,
Let's
and
just
then at the
say
end,
they
it's
put
just
you through hell pretty much to get her there, and then he just takes her and doesn't let what should have happened happen.
well, that's not should have happened.
I mean,
it's just,
she
What was
was
intended to happen?
essentially the cure for the disease or infection, and he just is selfish and takes her. Yeah,
it's not so much that; it's just that it was just cut off. Like it's
The
just
game just
so
ends.
it so abruptly ends. Where they're having a conversation, it's like she finally, trusts him.
It had an ending like No Country for Old Men. Like all of a sudden, I remember I watched that movie in theaters, and there was an old woman watching it. I was in Tulsa watching it, and at the end of the movie, like it was one of those daytime showings, and she, the movie, like, what was it? Tommy Lee Jones said something about, and then I woke up, and then the movie's over. She's like, "Is that it?" That was like her reaction to the movie. I mean, it was a great movie. I love it. It's one of my favorite movies. But yes, the ending is abrupt. But I mean, it fit what that ending fit that story. I think this ending fit this story. But I think any kind of abrupt ending just kind of leaves you kind of like, I guess, shocked that it's over. Because anymore, lots of movies now, I'll never forget the first time I watched Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. That movie had, I swear, like 5 or 6 endings.
Oh my goodness!
The movie took 30 minutes to end. They're wrapping up all these loose ends and stuff. Sometimes, stories just have to, end. They're done. And
I watched that in theaters. I was so mad, and everybody around me is like, "When's this thing gonna end?" You know?
Yeah.
Well, it's so different from the way they introduced it, though. I mean, it's like they didn't start out just you're like middle of a town and there's a bunch of infected and now you gotta survive. It's they give you a backstory between this guy.
They didn't make it
what
like
happens.
every other zombie type movie or game.
Yeah, I mean they give you a backstory and let you play through a prologue to how this all kind of started happening and all this, and like just gently work you up, and then at the very end just cut it off. I mean, if they would have just thrown you in there and then thrown you out, it seemed at the end, then maybe there'd been another story. But just the way they did it, I don't know.
What do you think, Gandyman?
About what?
The ending.
The ending?
I mean, okay.
Sorry, y'all were talking.
Everybody here, it seems like, has kind of had the feeling of, oh yeah, well,
Except
it's over.
Mine was more like yelling "what" at my TV.
What?
I did. I was like, that's it? But at the same time, what could they have done after that? I mean, besides make another game, apparently, but what could they have done with the ending?
Well,
Make
just,
you happy.
Make it like more of a closing thing, not just a cut off of the cinematic. It's
No, I heard you saying, okay, Joe.
Maybe
you're
walking
right.
down
Would
the
you rather
hill
walk
into
down
the
the hill? That's what I was fixing to say.
walk down the hill. As they're painting out.
I don't think that it would have fit though. I mean, if you notice, I'd have to go back. You could probably pull it up on YouTube now, but there's probably somebody that's got the video of it readily available. You can see the ending, but
Probably them shutting at their TV. That's it?
that's it. But I think that a lot of it was they rested the camera on her face as it closed. Like I think it was meant to, whether it was effective or not. I guess that may be part of it. Maybe the visuals couldn't show, even though the visuals were gorgeous. Maybe it couldn't convey that human emotion of, I wonder if I can trust him. Like, is he telling me the truth? Because think about that. He flat out lied to her for her own well-being. He flat out lied to her for his own peace of mind. But you think it wouldn't be?
Peace of mind, I think it'd be more than
Well,
anything.
for both, but I mean, for them to have both a peace of
Well,
mind.
okay, if she would have known the truth, what do you think she would have done?
Well, I mean, I think kind of a little bit of foreshadowing when you did the giraffe scene. Like you said, we could go back to Tommy's right now. We can and just be done with all this. And she said, well, all this can't be for nothing. And she kept going. She wanted to keep going.
Do you think she would let him cut
by
her
the
open
way,
in her life?
I know this is off topic now, but that giraffe scene, there was something about it that was awesome. Like, I was like, there's a giraffe in the middle of nowhere. But what it was, I mean, I guess what it was
And
meant
all
to
those
show
monkeys, too.
Yeah, but it was meant to show that, I guess it was showing that there was life and there was possibility.
Something beautiful.
Yeah, there was still something beautiful in the world, even though it's like giraffes walking around in the city.
I didn't see like any zoos or anything. So I don't know where those giraffes came from.
Well, yeah, the
monkeys
monkeys were in
shady
Colorado and giraffes in Utah, but
Between the crazy monkeys and shady giraffes, I don't know.
yeah, infected monkeys.
Yeah.
I was expecting to start finding some infected monkeys.
I was definitely expecting that.
I think as soon as the first shot was fired, then it would have been PETA on Naughty Dog's
Well,
doorstep.
here's the thing, though. Like, the horse runs right through them. I turned around, I hear Ellie and the horse coming, and I look over there, and they ran right through the monkeys. I'm like, what? I thought they were infected monkeys. What the heck? They just ignore the horse?
I don't know. But any other thoughts on The Last of Us?
Does it deserve a sequel?
Does it deserve a sequel?
Well,
Gameplay-wise,
well,
yes. Story-wise, no.
Forwarding, I should say. So, do you think?
Is it
Would you like
justified?
to see one?
Do you think Naughty Dog will make a sequel? Is that what you're saying?
No, I said, would you like to see a sequel?
Gameplay-wise, yes.
I'd play a sequel.
I would play a sequel, but I don't think it's justified.
I think the way the storyline went, I don't know if they're
if they never revisit those two again, and like I said, if they did a sequel that didn't even focus on them, then I think I would rather see a game without Joel and Ellie in it, like a new relationship. in
like
that
nobody
world.
even connected
Like,
to
okay,
them.
yeah, like in that world with different motivations, different things going on. That, for whatever reason, I didn't really think it out very, very much. And if Naughty Dog people were listening, I guess they could take my idea or call me. How about that?
Hey, call me.
Call me.
But Silent Hill 2, had about a man looking for his wife, and that motivation you don't really see so much. I think Gears of War 2 had that. You played Gears of War 2, didn't you? Dom and his wife.
No,
I didn't play it. I just heard
haven't.
things about it.
I've been
Yeah.
playing a little bit, but
that husband looking for his wife in the midst of it, that might be something that would be interesting if you could really flesh it out. But like I said, I didn't really think much about it. But I guess what I'm getting at is that game series with those mechanics, and if they focused on the keeping together or growing a relationship in the midst of complete and utter societal collapse and chaos, that it could actually be a pretty compelling sequel. But those two, in my mind, their story's done. We'll see what happens, but I would play a sequel probably either way. But I would play it. I don't think it's justified.
Just because probably Naughty Dog, because all the games they've been coming out with are.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look at Uncharted series,
Oh yeah.
amazing games.
And
I actually had trouble going back to Uncharted from Last of Us. It was kind of felt like a step down.
I do need to pick up the
that
third
is,
one.
I've played them all, but now that I've played Last of Us, I probably would feel the same way, except for the fact that Joel never jumps the entire game,
Well,
which was kind of annoying.
He has 80, so
yeah. Well,
He does jump over boxes.
He
but
jumps over box. I'm talking about there is no flat out jump button in the game. Which when you're playing Uncharted and the guy's flipping and flopping over here and hanging onto this and flying through this and all this stuff.
Yeah, Joe couldn't have done that.
No.
He's probably starting to get arthritis in his hands and stuff.
Yeah. Which if you look at their character models, of course they're similar and things like that. So it's a little jarring to think that you're playing a game that kind of looks like Uncharted in a way. Like if you just squint your eyes enough, it's like, you shoot like Uncharted,
It's like
and
old Nathan Drake. He's old,
but you don't play like Uncharted, and that was good too. I mean, I'm not dissing the game, but it was. I could play more Uncharted's, but they're just, I guess it's apples and oranges. I mean, and I like apples and oranges, so they're just different.
Do you know?
Yeah, I do. Now, anything else on that one? Well, we've got another topic that we've been discussing. This week, the Lone Ranger came out in theaters. Now, I'll go ahead and preface it by saying that I've not seen it. Neither of you, any of y'all seen it?
No.
After Earth, neither any of y'all seen it?
No.
Okay,
No.
so we're talking a little bit about these movies that we've not actually seen, which, of course, we normally wouldn't do, but it seems to be that the apparent box office failure, domestic and internationally for, I guess it may be a little too early to say that for the Lone Ranger because it just did come out, but the
It's not like
underwhelming performance of both those, domestic and internationally, kind of goes to speak of that 2013 may be the year that the movie star died. I mean, Will Smith was Mr. 4th of July. Johnny Depp is about, with the Pirate series at least, about as bankable as you could hope for in recent years. And now they're in big budget movies that have completely tanked. And what we've seen to kind of transition now is not just that the people, where it used to be that if a Tom Hanks movie come out, people that like Tom Hanks would get excited. People like Tom Cruise would get excited. People that like Jim Carrey would get excited. And now, like even that incredible Burt Wonderstone, that's another one.
Oh, it bombed.
It bombed too. And, Jim Carrey's in it. Not to say he was the lead in it or that you could place it all on his shoulders, but I guess what we're getting at is that movies now, people go to watch the movies not so much because of who's in them, but maybe because of what is in them, for the most part. What do y'all think?
I think it's just inevitable. Just at a certain point, it's like if you want a good, enjoyable movie, you can't just throw stars at it.
Well, I think this kind of goes in line with, kind of the death of the rock star. You know how, like, you can use Pro Tools now, and you don't even need to know how to play an instrument, and you can put an album together. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the death of all these things. The digital age is killing all these things. I guess it sort of links to
it just
the death of the movie
commodifies.
star.
It makes everything into a commodity, but it becomes where everything's product and it's not artistic, I think. Well, and now I'm not going to gripe about a bunch of superhero movies. I've waited for years, my whole childhood, for the movies that we've got coming out. And here I am, in my late 20s, and now they've got, probably 3 or 4 comic book movies a year. When I was a kid, that was unheard of. And
they came out with animated movies, not actually live action.
Well, not even that. I mean, like every few years, okay, you got Batman, and there was Superman way back, but before that, there really wasn't anything. The X-Men kicked open the door. Spider-Man. I mean, we could talk about that, but I love superhero movies, but they're franchises. They're just indicative of brands, and so you've got all these superhero movies, and I would say even to a degree where I think I read some comments from Robert Downey Jr. recently with all the contract negotiations about the Avengers and stuff, is that he said something to the effect, and I could be wrong on this, but I'm thinking that he was saying it pretty recently, that basically what you have to do now is kind of get a couple franchises under your belt and you'll be okay. As far as work goes, he's pretty right. I mean, he's got some big franchises.
Let's look at maybe movies like movie stars, quote unquote, that are bankable now.
There are none.
Robert Downey Jr.
No, but think about it. Robert Downey Jr. We don't have the figures pulled up, but you went and watched Sherlock Holmes. I know you have, because I think
I have both of them.
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes. You watched Avengers, and you watched the Iron Man movies. And I know as an avid moviegoer, you probably watched The Soloist, and you watched some other things. But tell me some of his movies that he's done that aren't franchises in the last maybe 2 or 3 years that you just ran out opening weekend and went and watched just because Robert Downey Jr. was in it. You didn't.
No, because he was in a bad place there for quite a few years.
Well, yeah, but I mean since his renaissance, so to speak,
Iron Man.
since Iron Man, you went and watched. You haven't, yeah, and so even
but
him.
They all do well, even if people don't rush out and watch them.
Well, I guess all that well is relative. Okay, if you've got a movie that costs $200 million, then it needs to at least make $400 million, or it's going to be considered a failure because the advertising budgets for these movies are astronomical. It's almost like financing a movie just to get the message out to people. So by the time they shell out all this money, it better make it back. And so a movie that's on a big like summer movie type scale of budget, like The Lone Ranger. I don't know exactly what the figures are for the budget. $250 million has a weekend where it makes a fraction of that opening weekend. I mean, the movie has to pretty much make back at least half or more than half of its budget to even be on track to be any kind of profit. And I think it maybe did 20% of its budget, maybe. Doesn't look good for it. And After Earth was probably even worse. But what do y'all think about that? It's almost like we said, that movies now are more product. Do y'all like that, or?
No, they're obviously starting to be more money grabs than they are just. I mean, they used to be, you make a movie, you did it out of like artistic expression, and now it's just, let's how much money can we make? We gotta look at all of
the
it.
Broadest demographic.
We gotta look at it all fiscally, and
there's something a documentary that Keanu Reeves did. He put together about where they're going away from film reels and going into digital, that it's taken away from the artistry. That it's all just
Keanu Reeves made that?
Yeah, well he put it together. It's on Netflix if you want to check it out. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but
well, I know that as far as from the regular film to digital, that's a whole other thing too. But it seems like along with that, we've kind of have seen where, okay, we can go back to this is a topic that hadn't had a lot of discussion for a long time since they were announced, but it's worthy of talking now, even though we don't know much about it. But it kind of brings to mind with this franchising of movies. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Lucasfilm is sold. Lucasfilm is basically the properties are all handed over sold to Disney, and now we get the word that there's going to be a handful in the next 10 years. There's going to be a handful of Star Wars movies.
One a year they're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I love Star Wars as much or more than anybody, but I had kind of gotten used to in my own mind that we would never see a 7, 8, and 9, and now we're going to get those, and who knows what else.
It's gone from qualify to quantify. It's
we're not
how
getting
many we get
quality,
out.
we're getting quantity now.
Yeah, they're not sitting down and it's like, we think we got enough material to make a good movie, so we're going to try a movie and see where it goes. It's, we're going to make a movie every year, and then there's going to be so many movies actually coming out, and it's a product.
Well, I think there's enough. I think there's enough material to make, maybe at least one more Star Wars movie. Because look at all the books that people have written that they can probably draw from.
Well, that's probably what they are doing. I've seen, of course, they're all rumors, but casting calls and things like that they're supposed to be putting out for certain characters.
How many more movies were they talking about?
3. It'd be 7, 8, 9.
Just
no, that's just of that. That's just the continuation of that story. There's spin-off movies too.
Of the Skywalker.
Yeah, there would be spin-off movies, and we don't know exactly what those would entail. It feels like that it could be just way too much. I mean, I never thought I'd say this. Too much Star Wars, considering the fact that
That's blasphemy.
Well, but think about it. And another thing too is, love him or hate him, George Lucas has handed the keys over to J.J. Abrams.
I know why though.
What?
His last movie tanked. His last couple. George Lucas.
Yeah.
Red Tails and the last.
Well, but he didn't direct Red Tails. He has had that in development for years. But
the last Indiana Jones movie didn't do as well.
It didn't probably do as well, but it was still a success. It was still a very, very big success.
I would say it's a coaster, in my opinion.
It was a coaster.
I use my Blu-ray as
not a roller coaster, but a drink coaster
for drink.
Yeah,
for drinks. Yeah.
Well, we can take Harrison Ford and kind of mold him into the next topic, but
yeah. What do you mean?
Last one.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess kind of moving on. We kind of talked about some stupid movie trends that we've seen. The knockoffs that you see. It seems like you go to the Red Box. Of course, that's the new video store anymore. But you go to a Red Box and you look through the queue. Let's say that you've got Pacific Rim is fixing to come out, and you look, and this week they're going to release Atlantic Rim. One of these cheap. What do we say they call it? A mockbuster.
Yep.
Yeah, where it's similar in title and title only, but you kind of think, oh well, I'm going to rent that because either I don't know who they're appealing to. People who are blatantly tricked into thinking that, oh, I saw a commercial for that on the television.
No, you know what they're hoping for? It's those people that don't read the title all the way. They just see the first part of it. They're like, oh, that's got to,
I saw a commercial
I just saw a commercial for that.
Yeah.
Well, like there's another one, Hansel and Gretel, but the one with
not Witch Hunters. Yeah, just Hansel and Gretel.
Just Hansel and Gretel. Let's see, Jack the Giant Killer, not Jack the Giant Slayer.
It's crazy.
Let's see if I say some of these and you know what I'm talking about.
Let's have a little game here,
Let's see,
shall we?
Clash of the Empires.
Clash of the Titans.
No, actually it's a knockoff of The Hobbit. An Unexpected Journey.
What?
Yeah. American Warships.
A battleship, yeah.
Let's see, 100 Ghost Street, The Return of Richard Speck.
100 Ghost Street?
Paranormal Activity 4 is what's a knockoff of.
Well, because it has numbers and ghosts in the title?
Yeah, I guess. That's what it is. Alien Origin.
Would that be Prometheus?
Yeah. Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies.
I actually heard somebody say that was like the worst movie they've ever watched, which I'm sure would be, but...
well, you can't go watch any of those movies and think, I want to be my socks knocked off.
Yeah.
I just want to be blown away by these movies.
I want an awesome story.
Bikini Spring Break. What's that a knockoff of?
I don't know.
Well, there's this movie, it's called Spring Breakers, anyway.
Ah, okay.
Grimm's Snow White.
Huntsman, Snow White and the Huntsman.
And Mirror Mirror. It's a knockoff of both of those, actually.
I'm sure, yeah, because they were both released around the same time.
See, 200 miles per hour. It's a knockoff Fast Five.
Ah.
Some of these are starting to be a little far-fetched.
The number 3 in Musketeers is a knockoff of the word 3 in Musketeers.
So there's like 3 Musketeers, and then there's 3 Musketeers.
The number 3.
Numeral versus the actual number.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Numeral versus name.
See, Battle of Los Angeles.
What was it called? Battle Los Angeles?
Battle,
colon.
Los Angeles.
Yeah. Let's see, Almighty Thor. There you go. There's another knockoff.
Come on. I saw one of those Thor movies where he had a sword, and that just made me want to weep.
That animated movie? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he had a sword on the cover.
All right. How many more of these want me to do?
I remember the oldest one was like Transmorphers or something.
Transmorphers, Fall of Man. That's like the sequel to that.
It's a Revenge of the Fallen, the Fall of Man.
Where are they getting the money for these? I want to know.
Where
they can do sequels and stuff, where people figure out the ruse.
From nearsighted people at the Red Box.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes.
Well, yeah. Sherlock Holmes.
7 Adventures of Sinbad.
I wish, though, you're giving me titles, that's one thing. I would love to see the box art for these things. Because I've seen the box art for lots of them, and not all of them, obviously, but it's, oh my gosh.
They look
terrible.
so close.
Oh, so close, yeah.
It's like they're using the same colors and everything.
I think they've got, like, graphic design students or whatever, like, pasting clip art together.
Yeah,
and
even
stuff.
that, they're like freshmen.
Yeah. Gosh. Well, I mean, it's annoying. I mean, and it's gotten it's gotten on the nerves, I know, of film companies and all. But there's even lawsuits about it because, in a ways, it's pretty intentional. You can pretty much tell that what they're going for. They want your money just because you're excited. And I guess if I was excited enough for Pacific Rim, which to say I actually do really want to see it, I don't know if I would ever be excited to spend money on something called Atlantic Rim, knowing that it's a blatant, cheap knockoff.
What about Sunday School Musical? If you wanted to see High School Musical,
I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see either one of them.
No, but I mean, think about it. It's ridiculous.
Well, you said you have, like I was telling Boomstick earlier, you have people like Netflix who actually just try to, like, I guess, cash in on it a little bit too. They call them alternatives for people who can't. They can't like afford to go see the movie or can't afford. Which I know
terrible. Hey, isn't there a mockumentary? Isn't there a mockumentary section on Netflix though?
I don't know. It might be.
I think there might be something.
Well, mockumentary is a whole other thing. Though. Yeah. I mean, like it's intentional. I mean,
it's making fun of something.
I don't think that. I mean, I guess in some ways these are meant to be like a mocking in that sense, but I just could never find myself spending money on it.
Hillside Cannibals.
Hillside Cannibals.
Don't you wanna see
Hills
that?
Have Eyes. That's crazy.
Pirates of Treasure Island.
Pirates of Treasure. Gosh.
Dragon instead of Aragon.
Instead of Aragon. Well, I mean, last thing that we saw, it's getting a little annoying, is, we talked about the death of the movie star concept earlier. Well, almost literally, we've got so many actors now that are trying to be action stars, and they're a little bit too old for it. I know it's almost blasphemous to say, but like
some
Arnold
of them are almost
Schwarzenegger,
70s.
yeah, they should quit. I mean, I think Arnold was close to 70, if not in his 70s now. And him and Sylvester Stallone have already done 2 Expendable movies, and they've released a Escape Plan trailer or something.
Oh, that looked just atrocious.
Atrocious. Bringing up the big words today, are we?
Atrocious.
Yeah, put my big boy pants on.
But I don't know, there's another movie that I guess might not be so bad, but I wasn't crazy about the first one, but this summer there's Red 2, which is basically old fogies with guns,
The first one was
Two.
funny.
I
The first
would
one
say
was funny.
Bruce Willis, I think maybe a little bit of an exception, at least for now.
He
is really
he's
old,
aging.
but-
He's always aged pretty well. I mean, it seems to.
It's starting to catch up.
He's been
with him.
rocking the bald head for quite a while, So, but it's one thing for him to be, the last Die Hard was terrible. Did you see it?
What, you talking about the Live
Good
Free?
Day to Die Hard.
Oh, I haven't seen that one, though.
Terrible.
No.
Yeah.
I thought
Did you
last
like
one I saw was Live Free
It
or Die
was.
Hard.
It was. I'm on the fence about it. Shut up.
I kind of so, but I fell asleep, and I like those movies. I
watched
fell
it all the
asleep
way.
watching it.
It wasn't as good.
It didn't have anything compelling to it. It was not even anything.
Let's
funny
go. Let's
about
go
it.
find my son in Russia.
Did you?
That's
did
a
you-
good idea. He's
did
in
you
prison.
watch?
We've run out of McLean relatives, so there probably won't be any more movies.
Right. Did you watch Live Free or Die Hard?
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
Okay, but I like
thought it
the-
was pretty
What
good.
if they bring him back into
Okay.
it, Justin?
I
Long?
liked the PG-13 theatrical version when I saw it, and then I saw the unrated whatever version when they come out on DVD.
pretty much the R version.
Well, it was an R-rated version, and then I watched the PG-13 again, and I didn't notice in theaters that whole scene, like in the apartment, was completely redubbed, completely, and their voices didn't match at all. To make it PG-13, they removed like every bad word out of the movie, but it was to the point where it was.
Noticeable.
It looked like I was watching some kind of old kung fu movie. Or
I don't
something.
think I ever watched
It was crazy.
I never watched the PG-13 version.
I saw it in theaters. I mean, like I say, to me, it was a pretty good movie, but I think that those movies
one
work
they
better when
shouldn't.
they're work better when
It
they're
shouldn't
rated
have been PG-13. They shouldn't have tried to make it.
R. It just didn't feel right, considering the previous three.
I mean,
and then,
considering his tagline is an
yeah.
expletive, you know.
Yeah.
So I really wasn't gonna say it.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
But other than Bruce Willis, though, I think he gets a pass. But like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, they're getting a little bit too old for this.
Another one gets the option. Probably Liam Neeson. 'Cause he's getting on up there. But
Oh my gosh, though, they've announced Taken 3. How many more people can be taken?
Right.
Like, okay, his daughter was taken, his
gonna
wife
get
was
taken
taken,
this time.
he was taken in the second one. Like, who is there left to take?
what? I haven't even seen the second
They
one.
were
You
both
ruined
taken.
it.
It was in the
You ruined
trailer.
it.
It was in the trailer.
It's taken one with the rule swap.
So see, there was Taken,
Well-
and then him and his wife, so it was 2 were taken. And so now
Taken
all 3
two.
of them will
On
be
top
taken.
of that, though, he's done.
I see
let's
what you
see
did
what.
there.
Arithmetic, it's like the count. 1, 2, 3.
He's done what? The A-Team,
Yeah.
Unknown. That's another action movie. The Gray.
That was actually pretty good.
So those are all action. So he's still an exception to the rule.
He works. Yeah, it works. I don't know. I think it's just jarring to see
He plays the older
Arnold
character.
and
though.
Sylvester Stallone are starting to look like bulldogs or something. They're all like,
Well,
they
they
couldn't
took-
talk right even at the prime of their careers, and now like. I mean, it's like just a bunch
like,
of
what'd they
mumbling at each
say?
other. Yeah, what did they say? We don't care what they say. Let's just
Well,
let them do
I'll
it.
say the Last Stand actually
Was pretty good?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I haven't seen it.
It's that they
Did
just
you watch
know,
Bullet to the Head?
I don't want to either.
Yeah, I think it's really what's getting on my nerves is Sylvester Stallone.
I like the movies they do when they're younger. Of course, what man probably doesn't like the movies they do when they're younger, these action movies? But they just, lifted so much weights and they're not doing that as much anymore, so they're looking all shriveled up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's not good.
Yep.
It's
Well,
like he's getting up ready to leave. He's got his hand on the table about ready to go.
well, anything else I'd like to discuss before we close out?
Oh. There was a few
Wild and crazy, impromptu. Here we go.
Yeah.
Off the cuff.
on the fly.
On the fly.
Motels.
Well,
OTS,
I guess with
whatever.
that we will close. I'm Boomstick.
I'm Quantum.
I'm Gandyman.
And see you next time.
Thanks for watching.
You stay classy.